Welcome to Mile High Reefers. I'm Scott Anderson, and today we're going to talk about one of my favorite corals, Acanthophyllia. And here's my Acanthophyllia. It's a really nice endo piece. I got this one from Aquarium Supply Distribution, formerly Aquamatic Live, and it's from Indonesia, which makes it really cool, and we'll get into that in just a minute. To begin with, Acanthophyllia were for many years thought to be scullies, but a few years ago they were reclassified as their own species called Acanthophyllia, and I think it makes sense when you look at this coral and compare it to a scully. It's very different than a scully. It's much fatter, it's much fluffier, they get much bigger. It really does seem like its own species, and scientists agree and have classified it as its own species. So if you look at some of the old literature, you'll see them as scullies, but these are Acanthophyllia, or meat coral, some of my absolute favorites. In the aquarium hobby, most of the Acanthophyllia we get are going to be from Indonesia and Australia. Now, both Indonesia and Australia have some amazing Acanthophyllia, but in my opinion, the absolute best come from Indonesia. When I worked for Aquamatic Live, we got some amazing Acanthophyllia from Indonesia. Unfortunately, I was only there for the very end of the Indo's shipments, and at the time, nobody knew it was coming. This Acanthophyllia that you're looking at right here is the last amazing one we got. Looking back, I so wish I would have bought this coral. It was unbelievable, but I sold it. I had no idea that Indo was going offline, and all of these amazing Acanthophyllia that we were just used to being readily available were going away. And they were gone for almost 2 years. When Indo opened back up, nobody was expecting Acanthophyllia. Originally, the only corals that were supposed to be coming out of Indonesia were maricultured corals. And Acanthophyllia, well, they're big, large, single polyp corals. They're not really fraggable, they grow slowly, so they're one of the worst specimens for aquaculture or mariculture. But where there was a little change in the law at the end that said they could sell the old stock of Acanthophyllia. And I believe that's what this coral is. It's a recent import of an Indo Acanthophyllia, and if you've been watching online lately, these amazing Indo Acanthophyllias have been coming in. They've been relatively readily available. I mean, more than they have been in the last 2 years. But it'll be interesting to see going forwards as to how available Indonesian Acanthophyllia are really going to be. Are they going to allow future wild collection? Are people just going to skate the rules and sell them anyways and call them mariculture, and we end up right back where we were, where they closed Indo down completely? I really don't know. Or maybe the Indo government and the collectors will work together and they'll find a sustainable way to do wild collection. That's really my hope. But Acanthophyllia are some of the most amazing corals, but they're not something that's ever going to be propagated in captivity or maricultured without some major advances in sexual reproduction. And you know, they're doing the work, so we may actually get there someday. But in the short term, Indo Acanthophyllias are available, so if it's something you want, I recommend buying them, even though they go for some eye-watering prices.
What I love about eBay is it's an online marketplace, and we can see what corals are actually selling for, and these are actual sales. So the first one is a neon green Acanthophyllia, and it's a little blown out the picture, 103 bucks. Looks like a pretty nice coral for the money. Below it's one of those supernova looking ones for $229. Great coral, but again, $229 is a lot of money for an average person. This is one of your kind of standard Aussie ones, $229 as well. These two rainbow ones at $750-ish. This one we don't know what it actually sold for, but really beautiful corals. But $750 is way out of my price range. This looks like your standard Aussie one. It doesn't say it's Aussie, but at 125 bucks, it's a really decent deal. And then these two for 120-ish bucks, great corals. And really, these are great prices for Acanthophyllia.
The majority of the corals that come in, or the Acanthophyllia that come in from Australia, are going to be more your greens and the browns. They don't have a lot of reds and oranges. That's not to say you won't find them, but if you do, expect to pay those ridiculously high prices. Now, the prices are only ridiculously high because they're relatively rare, relatively hard to get, and the demand is high. People will pay whatever they're worth. But the Aussie corals in this situation are oftentimes less expensive than the high-end Indo corals, and there's some amazing Aussie corals out there. I've had full tables of them. I absolutely love them. Now, Acanthophyllia, while they don't reproduce very quickly, they don't grow very fast, are some of the easiest corals I've ever kept. They're super hardy. I've had them ship in with almost no water in the bag and survive without a problem. I've had shipments get delayed for several days, and the Acanthophyllia have lived through it. It's amazing how hardy these corals are. They're slow growing, but incredibly hardy. The downside is, like all single-headed large polyp corals, is once they go south, they're hard to save, because really you've only got one head there. It's not like a coral that's got 10, 50, 100 heads. You've got one, so you've got all your eggs in one basket. So we really got to keep these guys healthy, and really all we need is standard reef tank water chemistry. So standard alkalinity, I like 8, 8.5, somewhere around there. Standard calcium, 425, 450, and keep your nitrates and phosphates relatively low. These guys love to be in the sand bed. In fact, they do really well down there. You can see some sand on this guy. That's from my chorus wrasse. And the chorus wrasse picks the sand up, throws it on there, but he's a big fluffy thing and fluffs it up. But we've saved the coolest part of Acanthophyllia for last, and that's the feeding of Acanthophyllia. These guys are, in my opinion, the coolest coral to feed. I like a heavier, meaty food. For the one we're looking at here, I just feed it some finely chopped Larry's, squirt it in its mouth, and it goes crazy. I've used tons of them. Acanthophyllia are easily some of my favorite corals in the hobby. They're absolutely beautiful, and in fact, I want to line the bottom of my tank with them. So as I start seeing them at the wholesaler, I'll be picking them up, buying them, getting more, getting a nice little collection. Odds are this one will be my crown jewel. When it comes to Acanthophyllia in pricing, greens and browns are relatively common, so you're going to find those at a much lower price. They're still really cool corals, and I highly recommend them. Brighter colors like your oranges and your reds and the fluorescent greens are going to command a higher price. The more colors in it are going to command even higher prices. But these are really interesting corals because every one is different. They're all different. So when it comes to pricing of an Acanthophyllia, brighter is better, more colors are better, and of course, the more colors, the brighter, the more expensive it's gonna be. But beauty is in the eyes of the beholder, and there are some amazing Acanthophyllia out there. Some have come in complete rainbows with purples and greens and blues and reds and oranges, and they're absolutely insane. As far as water flow goes, we're looking at lower levels of water flow, put it in the sand bed, and then when it comes to lighting, we're looking for medium to moderate light. These guys are from down deep, they're down on the sand, and they just don't need that much light. So medium light is best. So I'm really happy with my Acanthophyllia. These days he's 3, maybe 4 inches across, but that bad boy may grow up to be the size of a dinner plate. These commonly exceed a foot in diameter. Really cool coral that I highly recommend to anybody who has the tank to keep one. So thanks for watching this episode of Mile High Reefers. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.